Abby and Courtney. Welcome to the Retail Whole podcast. Wow, I can't even talk.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're happy to be here.
Yes.
Do me a favor and introduce both of each of you, and because also the podcasts are getting translated, so it will help the person on the other end know who's who to put the name to the right verbiage.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can start. So this is Abby. I am part of the duo of Duo Collective. So I am the strategy analytical kind of brain of the two of us. And Court, my sidekick, is more of the brand brain, the creative brain. And we specialize in all things organic marketing. So basically, what that means is that we help people build businesses without having to pay for ads. That's how we started our business. We came from a big agency here in Minneapolis, working on really big brands and we actually worked at a shopper marketing agency. So our specialty was working in retail marketing. So we did all of the marketing for big brands at retail stores like Target, a lot of grocery stores as well. We worked with a lot of food and bev brands. So our experience from there, we wanted to really bring and translate to more entrepreneurs and small businesses and people who are so passionate about bringing their product into the world, and then learning how to do that without having to spend money and give all of your money to Meta.
Yeah. And Court, you guys both, did you meet on the job together, or did you guys know each other before?
We did. We met at the agency together, actually. So Abby was there maybe a couple of years before I had shown up and started working there. But, and we weren't on the same team for a while. So we were just kind of acquaintances for a while, and we just knew each other. And then eventually we kind of started to cross paths a little bit, and we would work on a few projects together. And then towards the end there, probably the last 4 years, I would say, we were on the exact same team. So we worked just the way that we work now. And that's how we kind of knew when we were feeling the burnout there that we could do this together, because we'd already had a great working relationship. So we thought, why not? And then that's kind of how Duo was born.
I love it. We all met at the PP concert, and I've had a concert. I've had a lot of people on the podcast that were involved in that event. And I had said before on the podcast that I honestly, I've never been to an event like that where it's all women and female entrepreneurs, and there's so much energy, and the roundtables that you guys were part of were amazing to be able to sit there and listen to. Each of you all had a different strategy, and each of you all brought something different to the table. And yours was fascinating to me, one, because I am so not tech at all. I'm very open about that on the podcast. But the other reason why is because we had just talked about this, is that during the pandemic, a lot of retailers that were not savvy in internet and understanding how the web works and understanding how SEO works, and weren't comfortable in social media, and weren't comfortable jumping on and going live. And that's how the people that survived and exceeded all were ready to go live, and their websites were up and running, and a lot weren't. And unfortunately, it caught a lot of people with their pants down. And universally, it seems like the universe has kind of wiped out a whole lot of old school retailers. And it's good and bad. But I think now, with the way the world and retail is going, that you really have to be understanding of how it works, and you have to be comfortable and kind of going places that you aren't comfortable going in live, whatnot. And when you guys were talking, I was like, okay, I so want to have you guys on the podcast, because I think that what you bring to the table is so incredibly valuable to our retailers. So talk a little bit about when somebody signs on to work with you, how it works, and what the people that you are helping, what state are a lot of people in? They don't understand, or they're just beginning, or kind of talk a little bit about all that.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the board. I would say we have some people who feel very confident and understand SEO, but just don't have the time to do it. Like things like that, where those are some people that come to us. The majority of people, I would say, feel like the word marketing is so jargon filled. And I think a lot of times we think that it means spending money on ads. It's boosting posts. It's understanding how to market your business by paying money for it. So I think a lot of times when we connect with businesses, it's learning that even things like content creation, where we're all thinking about like, what are we going to post on Instagram today? And thinking of that from the mindset of this is marketing for your business, and being on podcasts, having conversations with people. Like there's so many people we've talked to who don't like Instagram. You don't have to live there. There's other ways you can market your business just by blogging or being a guest like this, or writing a guest blog post, or getting an interview with a publication. Like all of those are, I think a lot of people think of them as old school, but they're not. It's really, they're all opportunities for you to grow your business in a way that feels good for you. So that's kind of how we work with people is sometimes people know exactly what they want. They know that they need a rebrand. They know that they need content help to help bring their brand to life on Instagram, or they know they need SEO. And sometimes people come in and they're like, I need it all and I don't know what I need first. And so we kind of work together to figure out that plan for them.
So if somebody is not comfortable or they are just starting out, so I have nothing. I don't have a website. I have nothing. How do you guys work with somebody in developing that? And they have no social media presence.
I actually don't know if have we had anybody come in that has had nothing?
We have had a few businesses who are like brand new, like they're just getting started. And I'd say we start branding.
Yeah. So typically if somebody comes to us and they're right out the gate, so we start with the branding because we really want to nail down that brand strategy, the brand visual, the cohesiveness, what you're going to look like aesthetically, the tone of your voice when you're talking to your audience. So really just nailing down all of that and like your mission, your vision, because if you don't have that and you're not grounded in that, then I feel like sometimes people launch and they're like, oh, who am I talking to? Or like, who do I want to attract? Or what do I want my vibe to be? And if you don't have that figured out, I think it's kind of really hard to, get running in your business and be successful right out of the gates. So we like to nail down that brand strategy and the visuals first. And then I would say probably SEO would be our second
we usually say, so like, I think a lot of times people think of branding as like, what's the logo that's going to live on my package, or what's the sign that's going to hang outside my store? But they don't think about it as how can that brand have legs to live everywhere? Because that brand, whether you see your brand in Instagram, or you see it in a printed flyer, or you see it on anywhere on the internet in comparison to what your store or your product looks like, that it all should feel the same. You should be like, oh yeah, I know that brand. I know who they are. And so bringing that brand to life in that way is so important. And then the second thing is kind of making sure you can be found. And that's where SEO comes into play, because the whole point of social media and the whole point of any type of outreach is to drive traffic so that people can convert. So you can't do that without telling people where to go. So that's either through a website. And I'd say even if a lot of retail businesses don't have websites yet, your Google My Business profile can kind of play as that mini website until you get a website built. And those profiles alone can be optimized for SEO to help drive traffic to your store, even if you don't have an online place to sell.
I have so many questions right now.
Ask away.
I'm still going back to the blog part. So obviously because I learned this from Renee during the UPP, is like repurpose and put it out there. Like you said, podcast, blogs, Pinterest, Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I just 2 months ago got a VA, because I personally, I don't sit at a desk all day. And that's, for me, that's my biggest challenge, is that I'm in somebody's store working hands-on their merchandise. I'm not able to sit and put out content. So I was only able to do Instagram posts because I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I have coffee before I'm on a job at 6. So I'm literally posting at 4 a.m. But that's where it stopped. Like I only sent it out to Instagram. Now she's hitting all of those platforms. Now I'm doing a blog. Tell me how a blog, because a lot of people, myself included, have a blog and then like, is anyone even freaking reading this? It's like, honestly, like I feel like sometimes I'm just throwing it out there to throw it out there, but tell people about why blogs are important and how that ties everything together.
Mm-hmm. And I'd say too, side note, not even on top of that, how you interact on Instagram through like your stories and getting people the behind the scenes of like what you're doing for the day and how you're working in the store and all of that. that works for your business. And that's so powerful. So I think it's unique to think about how you can play into the platform for your business. If posting regularly doesn't work for you, but you can dedicate time to show up on stories and be real and have like actionable things that you can tell your audience to do there, and that works for you, that's great. Like, you don't need to put the pressure on yourself to do like the type of content creation everyone else is doing. And that's what we work with our clients on too, is like, what works for you, use it and leave the rest. Like, don't try and push things into a box, you know?
Yeah,
So
I've
that was
lived on,
a
I live
tangent.
on stories. It's like that's the one, at least I'm comfortable with that. And it's like, I know I give out a ton of free information of what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. Like, now my platform's kind of changing, more educational, also because I'm building that subscription-based platform for teaching retailers how to merchandise. But, I also know that I needed to do more. So that's where the VA comes in, at least. But again, like I still feel like it's like, are we even getting any traction on any of this? Like, and especially the blog, I wrote it the other day. I'm like, why am I even doing it? And how are people finding people's blogs, or how does all of that tie into people finding you?
Yeah. Yeah. So blogging, you need to have the right tools in place to measure and then know that, okay, this is working for me. So we always tell people to make sure they have Google Analytics and Google Search Console installed into their website. So once those are, you don't get any back data. So like every day you don't have that installed, you're losing the data of who's finding you and how they're finding you. So we always say, even if you're not ready to look at the platform and the platform scares you, just set it up, implement it, and then it can just run in the background until you're ready to actually consume the data it's giving you. But those tools will tell you which blogs are performing, which blogs are driving traffic for you, how many clicks you get a month. Are they clicking through to your website, or are you just showing up on the page, which can give you some ideas on like, is my headline attention grabbing enough? Because maybe I'm showing up a lot, but no one's clicking. So my headline isn't working for me. So it can give you a lot of insights into that. But so blogging is a whole other type of content creation that we do. So we just like we do content creation for our clients for Instagram, we do the same thing for blogging, but from a keyword perspective. So we take a look at our clients' competitors and we see how are they getting traffic to their website? What are their best performing pieces of content? Does it make sense for us to create something not similar? Like, we never say to, copy that piece of content, but if people are craving it, they're likely looking for deeper content or more things related to that. So we use that as a guide to say, wow, this is their best performing topic. And I think for us, our best performing blog post, people probably would never guess it, is how to create a custom Gmail signature in Canva. We are position 1. It brings in thousands of clicks a month, like thousands. We get inquiries from it, and it is very small piece of what we do. Like, that is so tiny, but it's an actionable piece of content that people look at. It has YouTube, which is another search engine piece of it. Like, there's so many aspects that make it so successful, but you can have one blog take off that you record years ago that can drive the majority of traffic to your website. So it's so powerful when you can find the right piece of content. And it's really trial and error, kind of figuring out what pieces of content work and having a keyword strategy with it. So when you think of the content to create, it's not like, oh, I should create this because I think it's good. It's a lot of asking your audience what they want and then going to a keyword tool like Uber Suggest is one of our favorites, or even using Pinterest, typing in the keyword that you want to write about and seeing what else exists out there on Pinterest. That can be a really good place to start.
What does Uber Suggest?
It's our favorite keyword research tool.
It's an amazing tool.
It is. It's completely free if you want to start digging into it. You get 3 searches a day. So be very strategic about what you want to search for. But otherwise, they have very affordable lifetime plans where then you can just search as much as you want. But you type in a keyword. So if you want to write about packaging updates or something about that, like, you can go ahead and search the keyword that you think you want to write about, and it'll give you keyword ideas of other things you could write about and how often people are searching.
Oh my God, my mind now is completely blown. And now I'm like, what am I doing with my stupid blog? My blog is like, honestly, and I don't know if other people, because we're doing a newsletter to give free content, and it's also to build our email list. So when this thing does launch, I have somebody to send it out to. That's a whole nother situation that's not growing. But I realize I've treated my blog more like a diary, because the newsletter is content. It is actual, like, actionable steps and whatnot. The blog, to me, since it's free, was just like me railing off about whatever. Now I'm like, why am I even doing that? It should be more business based if people are trying to find me. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. And you can even
Literally,
take, right, and repurposing that content too from your emails, like even going back to, months and months ago, going back and repurposing that content in blog format can be really powerful too, and make it feel a little less overwhelming, because it can feel overwhelming to create a lot of content all the time. But that can be something that repurposing your content there can be really helpful.
That's literally how my back went out, because I've been on this job for like 3 weeks, and it's been like 12 and 14 hours. And I brought everything with me with full intention. I was going to do this after work. And it was like, that didn't even happen. So I come back my first day, I literally drove in from Las Vegas. I sat at my desk and kicked out like the blog, the newsletter, like social media stuff for the VA. And I'm like, I never left my desk. I'm like, no wonder my back went out. It's like, but that's that. I mean, it's like, to keep up with that is like crazy. And it's like, now and the pressure only comes from me. It's like, but I know it's important. And that's why, for having you guys on this to talk about like how important all this is for businesses. So for retailers, what is the biggest mistake you're seeing retailers are making as far as everything for leading people to their website? Where are they making the mistakes?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Would you say category pages is a big opportunity?
Yeah, I think oftentimes people forget that every single page of your website gives you the ability, another opportunity to be found. So if you have a website with a lot of different products or a lot of different product categories, every page gives you the ability for a new person to find you, because someone might not be looking for the broad category of what you offer, but they're looking for a specific thing that you offer. So for us, we do organic marketing as a whole. As you can imagine, organic marketing is a broad category, but someone might be specifically looking for SEO, or specifically looking for branding, or specifically looking for social, and they come into us through all of those avenues. Same thing with products and product categories. If someone sells things like tumblers and shirts and a lot of different apparel items, they might bucket those in different categories and then have the opportunity to be found because someone was just looking for a tumbler. So it's thinking about those different pages and how valuable they can be. I think, and also maybe one of the biggest mistakes is not understanding the value of a website and how powerful it can be in helping you get found on a larger scale.
So for people that have the websites, I mean, Canva, obviously, if you utilize it, makes beautiful artwork, but the people that threw up their website on Squarespace and they're just putting products on, the explanation or the description of the product, those are the keywords. So should they be over explaining, like white cowboy boots? Like, should they be like giving it more of a story? Like where are they? Because I know there is a shit ton of people that literally just threw stuff up and literally was like trying to get done as fast as possible. So a lot of things were skipped. Descriptions are part of them. And I think that people think, oh, it's up there, they'll just find it because we have a store already. That will happen, but I feel like they're missing out a whole lot of other sales. So is it in the description of like all those, like over explain what it is or over storytell it?
A little, not quite. I would say definitely you want enough words. If you don't have enough content on your page, Google doesn't know what your page is all about. So 300 is kind of the good recommendation to make sure that every page you has at least 300 words. Every page. Every page.
I can guarantee you already right now there's a hell
right.
of people that do not have $300
yep.
on each page.
I know. So that's something where if you really struggle with it too, it's nice to be like, okay, I'm going to add another piece of content underneath each product. That's like my best performing blog post that I can drive them to. Something like that to like help add more content to a page, or maybe FAQs, common questions that people are asking can help add word count too. but product descriptions definitely should include some keywords, but do it naturally. You don't need to say like everything, like keyword, comma, keyword, comma, keyword. You can keep it really natural. But there are SEO settings in every platform. So whether you use Shopify, whether you use Squarespace, whether you use Wix, they all have a SEO settings section. So you just have to know where to look. So as long as once you're on a page, I know Squarespace, since you brought up that example, there's 3 little dots. What are those called? It's like got a name for it. Ellipsis. Yeah, thank you. There's 3 little dots that you can click on and it brings you to the settings for the page. And then there's an SEO section. And that's where you can choose your SEO title and your meta description, which tells you what that page is going to look like on Google search. So all you need to do is make sure that those keywords, like you can write your product description and have a fun product name, and all of that can live on your product page. But when you're writing for Google and your SEO title and your meta description, those should lead with your keywords, not the fun product name that you might have created. So those sections can really help. And then alt text. So product businesses always, like almost always, forget about alt text and how powerful that can be.
What is
Because so it's basically Google can't read images. So it can only read the title you assign to an image, like what you've given that title. So if you do, I think it's cache, if you do CACHE : and then type in your URL and you look at your website, you can click on text only view, and that shows you what your website looks like to Google. Like, this is what Google can see. This is what Google understands. And you'll see like, oh, there's no words here, or my images are JPEG 1, 2, 3, 4. And Google's like, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to serve that to anyone. So if you can go in and write your alt text, which again, all of your images will have these settings, you probably just didn't know to look for it. And then you'll write your alt text that describes the image. So this is a tumbler for X, Y, and Z. Like having the keyword of what the product is and who it serves can be a really good alt text description to use. And then if people are searching in Google Images section, like that tab in Google, that's where your brand can have the opportunity to show up.
So when you say who it serves, it's like, so this is my tumbler and it holds hot and cold. It's perfect for the commuter. Is that when you say who it serves? Is that pretty good description? Because I'm right now, like my mind, I haven't glazed over, but right now I'm like, oh my God, like what I loved when I listened to you is that you make it very understandable for somebody who has zero idea of what you're talking about. Because I mean, it's like now all of a sudden, like I said, like just the blog thing, it was like, oh my God. So I think that's why it's so important to have you guys on here, because I think there is a lot of retailers that, I mean, just the 300 words alone. So let me go back to that. You have your picture of your cowboy boot, you have the description, the price, there's not 300 words. Would you suggest dropping down, like say customers reviews? And that would add in more of the information, more words that will hit that key, that 300, and as well as serve your customers on what their reaction was to that cowboy boot.
Yeah. I think client reviews is a good one. And like Abby said earlier, FAQs. So if people have certain questions that constantly come up about that specific product, that's a nice place to have those FAQs so people can read about it and get those answers. And then, I feel like on some of our pages, even we just have like a little blurb about us, or like our best performing blog post, or something that would be maybe relevant, to that product or whatever. Maybe it's a blog post about that product and X many ways to use it. You can link them to that too. So just having that content on that page helps with that word count as well.
I think a lot of retailers right now are like, oh my God, that sounds from this person, incredibly overwhelming. Like, for the people like I think a lot of retailers are just like, thank God I just got the shit on the website. And, but I think a lot of them don't know how to do a lot of this. So that's where you guys come in. And you guys work on like you do it all, or you can do just this. So how, like I said, like I'm a brand, so I have a website and stuff's just thrown up on there. I've got a store though that has 40 years on the street. Everyone knows us. my blog, I don't have a blog yet. So how would you start working with somebody that's kind of established already in the industry, yet their website is relatively new and it's them working on it and not some smart tech kid or somebody like you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's always, especially when you're local too. So once you've secured the local market and you have that authority in the local market, that's awesome. Like you have a great base. But I think when you really want to get your business to scale and to grow to new heights, and if you have the ability to extend beyond local, I think that's where you really can hone in on strategies like blogging and really working on your favorite social platform. Does not have to be Instagram. Like you do not need to be successful on Instagram to grow. Like there's other platforms that work for people too. Pinterest, TikTok, like you can choose your favorite. But I think that's where you have to dedicate. It's more of a mindset thing. You need to pick one platform to go all in on. And if that is blogging, then you really need to set your goal of here's how many blogs I'm going to do a month. And I'm going to make sure that they're keyword rich and I'm going to push them out to my audience that way. So I think that setting that goal and prioritizing at the beginning is so important. And that's a lot of times what we do help our clients with, because sometimes they just don't know what they should prioritize or where their biggest opportunity area is.
Yeah,
And we
that's
can
great.
kind of help discover that based on like, okay, what are your competitors doing? What's your vision? Like that's where your brand strategy comes into play too. Like what's your vision? Where's your company going to be in 5 years? Let's think about that. And then let's build a marketing plan that helps you get there.
How many blog posts do you suggest? Because I've heard that there is a magic number that, that you should be kicking out so many. So what is, I mean, because I think a lot of people, myself included, that it's like, you drop a blog post and then it's like, all right, go about my business and completely forget about it. And it's like, I'm pretty sure no one's finding it that way.
Yeah, I don't think there is a magic number.
Mhm.
Just like we have the same approach with Instagram. You don't need to post every day to be successful. And also you don't need to share content on Instagram. Like we said, like stories can be your area of success. I think whenever we hear about the rules of having to do one thing for everyone, that kind of comes off as a red flag to us sometimes because we're like, no, you can build your plan to work for you. So with blogging, it's more important to be consistent. So pick how consistent you can be and then stick to it, because just like emailing, just like everything else, your audience is going to see that consistency. And if they can know to depend on you weekly to come out with a new podcast episode, a new blog post, a new email, newsletter, if they can depend on that, then that's where you're really going to see the growth.
Do you suggest people broadcast it through their stories or their Instagram that, there's a new blog post out so people know, or you're just assuming that people are finding you randomly?
Absolutely. Promote it. Yeah. Driving traffic to those pieces of content after you create it is so powerful. So that's where you include that link in your email newsletter each week. You put it in your stories. Now that everyone can include a link in their stories, you link it there and you make sure that people can go look at it. And we oftentimes say we didn't get to do a new blog post one week and we send out a weekly newsletter. I'll go back and find one that I feel like is relevant and retag it. Like we'll go back and retag blog posts we wrote a year ago because they're still relevant. So I think that that content is out there to be at your disposal whenever you want to reshare it.
Tell me about some of your success stories.
Oh man, product or service?
Let's do both.
Oh man. Okay. So
Sound and Circle.
yeah, we worked with everything with her. So, our client, Lindsay, she works at Sound and Circle. So it's organizational goods and planners. She came into us for SEO. We did an SEO website audit with her, and then she came back and we did a rebrand. We have a mini brand and social strategy package where we can do a visual rebrand and then bring your brand to life on social and create the content for you. So we've done pretty much everything for her every step of the way. So with her, we helped to redo basically she took all the tools we gave her to and then used them all to rebuild her website. And then we optimized with SEO. So her website, I would have to go back and look at the growth, and maybe I can follow up and put this in your show notes if you have them so that I can actually see what the percentage growth is. But I know she saw a huge jump in her keywords that were indexed, meaning that all your keywords indexed on your website, that's how Google can serve you. If you don't have content indexed, then Google doesn't know to pull you up when people are searching those words. So making sure that your content is getting indexed is the first step to then driving traffic to your website.
What is content index? Now that you put that out, like, what is content index?
Yep.
These terms.
I know, right?
And this
so
like, again, Elisa, who you guys have worked with, who does all my digital marketing, she does all this for me. So so I don't even know, I don't understand. I haven't even heard of these terms. So what is that term? Because I can tell you right now, a whole lot of retailers are what?
Right. So that tool we talked about before, Google Search Console, is where you can go check this kind of stuff. So basically how Google knows what's on your website is they have these little spiders or robots, whatever you want to call them, that literally anytime you have new content, they crawl your page. They grab the words, they index them into their search database. So imagine how crazy this is with the number of content that's out there, right? And then when you type in that word into the Google search bar, it digs into that everything that's been crawled by their robots. It digs into there to find the most relevant pieces of content. And so if you don't have your pages crawled, then your content won't ever show up. So the very first step in making, once you have your website there, and once you've written all the words and you've spent all the time to make sure that your content's there, you can actually go to Google Search Console. As long as you have that implemented and connected, then you can request for Google to crawl your page. So this can be really important if you've updated your website or added new products. You can just go copy and paste the domain into Google Search Console, and then if it will tell you, yes, it's been indexed, or no, it hasn't. And then if it says no, or if you've made updates, you can request a manual crawl.
Wow, that's like mind blowing. I mean, again, I think so many people don't even realize all these tools are available to them and they're free.
Yep. Yeah.
But they need somebody like you.
Yeah, right. We're working with a client. This is actually a really good example right now. We're working with a client to do an SEO audit. They're a personal training and nutrition company. So they do both nutrition coaching online, so they can serve anyone anywhere with that, but then personal training local. So they have a little bit of a mix, but obviously driving traffic to their website is super important. They were the first client where we did their SEO audit. They had really great authority with Google, which means Google's already touted them as being authoritative on their topic. And that's mostly because they were featured in other podcasts, featured on other websites. All of that also helps make you authoritative other than just creating content. So they had done all of that, and they were outranking their competition with that. But they didn't have anything indexed because their Google Search Console, for some reason, thought their content was duplicated. There were some weird errors happening in there. So their pages, and I'm sure people have had this before, where they've Googled a website or they've Googled the name and they know that's the name of the website or the name of the business, but they can't find them on Google.
Yeah.
So chances are, if that's happening to you, Google either hasn't crawled your website, or you have some issues happening where your content is getting excluded on purpose and you have to kind of dig into it. But Google Search Console is completely free. You don't pay for it. It tells you what errors are happening and you can dig into it from there.
That's amazing. Okay. The success story with product.
Oh, so Lindsay was our product, right?
Lindsay was product. Yep.
So, let's see. I'm trying to think of another one that we did.
What about the videographer? Wasn't there an increase?
Yes,
for something
I
SEO?
can't remember if it's increased for, now I'm thinking of another product right off the bat, with the Gray Muse, Rubina, which she was also at UPP, too. She owns a couple different businesses. We did an SEO audit for the Gray Muse and the Aurora Market. So she has 2 different businesses. We looked at each of them separately because they each have their own website platform. Her traffic more than doubled after we did the SEO audit. So content didn't get, like, she has tons of content there and she hasn't been producing regular blogs. So because of that, you won't notice more indexed keywords, for example. But what we did see is we saw a more than double growth on her content just by optimizing old blog posts. So
Wow.
by taking old blog posts that were performing well and using better keywords and optimizing the SEO titles and meta descriptions, she saw a massive jump in traffic to her website.
Wow. So
Incredible.
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I don't know. I don't think a lot of people realize the difference of some of these things of what it will make to their business.
Mhm.
I know people are asking, what does an SEO audit look like?
Yeah. So we have a few different kind of packages. We always say, like, for an SEO audit, if you're doing a website audit, we have a audit where we'll do the audit and tell you what to do. So you'll be the implementer, and we have lots of videos and we make it super clear and down to earth. And like, that's our goal with everything with SEO, is to make it understandable. And then you would do the implementations yourself. And then we have another one where we do the optimizations for you. And usually at a discovery call, people know immediately. They're like, yeah, I'd like to learn about it and I'd like to do it myself. Or heck no, like, tell me what you're going to do, but I don't want to do it. So, so we help both people. And it's so funny because we also know right off the bat, like, oh yeah, you're going to fall into this camp for sure. But either way, right. Either way, we sit down for 90 minutes and we walk through their audit together. So we start with keyword research, looking at what keywords do you index for, and then what is your wish list, is what we call it. Like, what are the keywords that we think you have great opportunities to rank for to help drive more traffic to your site? And then we look at competitors. What are your competitors ranked for? What keywords are driving traffic to their website? What are their best performing blog posts? Do that whole analysis. And then we look at your website. So we go through 10 to 11 different ranking factors, things like alt text, things like SEO titles, meta descriptions, and then we analyze them to see if you have any errors and how they can be optimized. And then that's where we either say, here's what you need to do to optimize your SEO titles, and then you run and do it, or we just update it for you.
I know a lot of people also are like, the whole meta world now is like a whole thing. Please explain that.
Right. I mean, meta is just a new word, right? For Facebook and Instagram. And they're trying to create this as this new universe, essentially.
Yeah. This is what I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Right. I would say it's so interesting to watch people talk about this, and whether people are either signing off and they're done, or they're trying to figure out how to go all in. I think video, the biggest thing to understand is that if you want to go all in and you want to live on these platforms, video is going to be where you'll succeed, because that's where all of the algorithms are going. So creating video content is where you're going to see the most success. And if you do decide to do that, that's where, like, repurposing, take your videos, use them as idea pins on Pinterest, take those videos, make those YouTube shorts on YouTube, use them elsewhere. Because even our recommendation is, like, don't go all in on just Meta, because that's not going to work for your business, because they could change again in a year. They could change tomorrow. Like, those changes, if you go all in on a platform like that you don't own, is going to be really hard. So yes, keep growing your email list. Like, that's a great place to make sure that you own your content, and then try to just repurpose what you can. So repurposing things across other platforms is going to be really helpful. And if you can't, hiring a VA to help you repurpose that is going to be very beneficial.
Yeah, because there was just no way. I mean, it's still so overwhelming just to put it on a calendar for a month, because I'm so, like, in the moment and shooting stuff we're doing now. And in my head, it's like, all these pictures are from 2 months ago. It's like, who even cares at this point? But I mean, I had Renee on last week, and it's like, it's all new to everybody else. It's like, just because you think it's old, it's like, it's not. Like, so it's hard to get out of as someone that's creative, it's hard to get out of that mindset of, like, it's not instant gratification. It's like, it's old stuff that you need to, like, put down on paper. But the YouTube thing and TikTok, That's the other, like, you guys have done or doing TikTok, right?
We are here
see
and there.
here
Yes.
and
It's
there.
not
Okay.
it's not our number one platform yet, but we are definitely on it and learning as we go.
Yeah. It's one of our repurposed platforms.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand it. Renee's like, fuck this. I've done it twice, 3 times. Like, so it's hilarious to see like everybody that's so strong in some areas. And then just like, I mean, I don't understand it because I mean, the world is now like you can be anybody and be famous. And if you look at all these, flash in the pan, I mean, I'm blown away because it's like, to be honest, like, because every now and then I rarely am on it to just scroll through it, but every now and then I'll come across like, there are so many old ladies that have like 500,000 viewers that are like doing video. Like there's 2 old ladies that they're hilarious. They're from Queens and the Bronx, and they're literally like 70 years old. And they did a TikTok video the other day on how to tease your hair. And with her piece de resistance of a CVS barrette, I was dying. But that's what for me as a business, I always said, like, I'm not going to be that. I don't want that on TikTok. I'm trying to use it as educational, but to be honest, like, I'll get like 500 views, but we have very few followers. And it's like, I think people just want to see the old ladies with the barrette. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, it's like, it's just,
I think some people will, but I also think people like it isn't a one size fits all. Like with content creation on any platform, whether it's TikTok or something else, it's so important to think of, okay, how do you consume content? Because you are a different consumer than your audience, because you're not exactly your audience in terms of what you have to offer them. So it's also might be important to even ask the question, like go to your Instagram followers, go to your email list and ask them, how do you like to consume content? Do you watch videos? Do you look for education? Are you looking for entertainment? And understanding how they like to consume can then help influence what you create. But if you hate the content you're creating, it's not going to work for you anyways. Like you have to have this happy medium of creating content in a way that makes you feel good, but then also creating content that your audience wants. There definitely has to be a mix there. If you're one or the other, you're just not going to find success either way.
Interesting. So the 2 of you work side by side. Do you work side by side together all the time, or do you each work out of your homes, or because you have both very different jobs, but you both work collectively?
Correct.
Yep. Together.
We get together probably at least once a month, maybe twice a month.
I feel like now.
Well, maybe lately
with the podcast, we get together a little bit more. Yeah.
But otherwise we're jamming from our own homes, mainly from day to day. And we just keep in touch any way possible, whether it's email or Snapchat or Instagram, or we're just constantly texting, emailing, talking, video chatting.
Yeah. And we touch every client together. And I think that's kind of the uniqueness, is it's not like a branding client comes in and I don't talk to them, or an SEO client comes in and Court doesn't talk to them. There's a lot of overlap. Especially like SEO, sometimes the optimization suggestions we have are design related. And so it's so important for then Courtney to make those updates, because the headlines are not at all designed or optimized to help you with SEO. So there's so much overlap in that world. And then same thing with branding, is sometimes even if we're coming up with names for things or taglines, that has a huge SEO effect on businesses. So we take that perspective into it. So it's kind of cool because we meld both worlds and you get both sides of the brain when we're kind of working together.
The Court does all the creative, all the fluffy. I hate saying fluffy, but people say that with my job, like you make it fluffy, but you do all like the design savvy, the fluff, because now I'm realizing like Court has like, poor Court has like none of the questions have like been towards Court. So
no, that's okay. And that's fine. Yeah. That's where, Abby is definitely the SEO genius and I'm the branding genius. So anytime we're talking about SEO, obviously she's going to take the stand way more than I am. But I'm like, I know enough to be dangerous with it, but definitely you don't want me in your site making all of the implementations. That would be Abbey. But
that's a great partnership though, because I feel like a lot of the partnerships that people have, like, I think that the most balanced are the ones that have the, the equal strengths that you all need in this you, as a retailer, you're going to need all, especially with branding, because I think branding, a lot of people did their logo on Canva, and then their bags have a stamp or something, and like the store, outside of the store, the logo looks I mean, I can name off a lot of stores that their branding does not look at all like what the store does. So
Right.
I'm a new customer and I have just that. My what I'm putting out there is completely disconnected. How do you just scratch everything, or do you start with, like, say, I love my logo, but, and it's like, 20 years old and it's outdated and they're just clinging on to it because they've had it for 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Typically if we have somebody come to us like that, we like to kind of start from scratch, just because if you come to us and you're like, well, this is my logo and I really like it, but I don't like anything else about my brand and I don't even know how to talk to my audience anymore, I'm getting lost in the crowd. I think it's always nice to have a refresh. And I think what we like to do is take from an approach of, we'll show you something that's close to the logo that you have now, but we're going to take your logo and we're going to make it a full-on brand. We're going to give you fonts, we're going to give you colors, and we're going to tell you why we chose those colors. We're going to, photography style, even down to how we think you should be like shooting your products and stuff like that. And patterns, we like to create specific patterns because that's just another element that adds to your brand.
Love that.
Especially in the branding or in the product industry. I think like your tissue paper can be branded, your boxes, your tags. Like the retail space is so fun because you have so many different things that you can put your brand on. Whereas like service, it's a little bit more confined, but brand or products is great. So I think it's really just kind of taking a look at what you have, but then really building on that strategy and that voice and that tone and those elements. And then, like Abby said earlier, really taking those elements and putting them everywhere. So if, whether they find you at your store or online, Instagram, through a newsletter, you want everything to be cohesive because you want them to be along with you on this brand journey. So once something isn't cohesive, people are going to start questioning, like, oh, do they not even know what their brand is or who they want to target? Or like, I've seen all of this and now there's a break, I'm confused. So that cohesiveness is such a huge part of branding that I think a lot of people kind of get stuck on too, because they don't know how to take their brand from their website to social, and then social to a newsletter, and then a newsletter to, brick and mortar. I think people get kind of hung up on how that all comes together. And so that's where we really try to, kind of tie the knot between all of those pieces.
You brought up the word tags. So I don't think retailers, and this is, I interviewed a guy from Caton the other day, and they're like a really like 65-year-old surf company. And they're like all about the whole aesthetic and taking pride in your business and how you treat the merchandise and the message you're giving your customers, that we care about it on a wood hanger versus we don't care about it and we put it on a shitty wire hanger. Tags are so important. And I think that retailers are go to the easy, cheap white stock that you order off a Uline, and there's no branding on it whatsoever. I mean, other than everyone recognizes it from the tag that's from Uline. It's not. And I think that, retailers may think this may seem like an expense that is more than they want to take on, but honestly, like all the way down to your tag, your hanger, yes, if you could have it branded, I think is important. But I think that tag, because just like your bag, your tissue, the tag, like as they take it out of the bag, there's your tag again. As they if they recycle the bag, there's your name again. Like, I don't think people understand how important branding and how deep it goes, how important it is. Like, I think a lot of people will skip out on steps because of cost. But I think that if you're treating your product, as Caton says, like you're treating your product as equally as important, you're steaming it, you're doing this, that it's things like tags are incredibly important. So
and I think the thing too, when people are buying products, when they have that experience, I think a lot of it is the experience of like unboxing that product or shopping that product at a brick and mortar. When everything is cohesive and comes together like that, and the brand is strong throughout all of those elements, it is such a great experience for the shopper or the buyer, because they feel like they're on this journey with you, or they see and feel the brand the entire way. And I think when, if you open up just like an Amazon package that you get to your door and you pull out a shirt, you're like, oh, wow. I mean, cool. I
Yeah.
got the shirt I
Yeah,
bought, but like,
it's a great,
that wasn't fun. Whereas you order from somebody else and they have like this beautiful box, and you open it up, like, and it's, shut with a sticker that's branded. And then you open it up, and then inside you've got the tissue paper, and you unwrap it and it's branded. And then they have a cute thank you card in there. It's just that
Yeah.
experience of unpackaging that versus that Amazon shirt that I just bought is so much more. And it's going to get people to come back, because they're going to be like, they love that experience. And they're like, wow, they really put their heart into this, and this means something
100%.
to them. I love it.
I will say this because I'm always on my soapbox about Amazon, is that the lack of customer service and because a lot of people in retail are like, oh, Amazon's taking over, or you can buy it for less on Amazon. It's like, no, because you're never going to get just what you just said, that experience. And like, people don't seem to understand. I mean, you're right. You open a box from Amazon, it's like, okay, here's my whatever. And it's like, for me, I mostly buy office stuff and stuff like that on it. But if you're buying something from, say, like there's a store here in Southern California called Kingfisher Road, and they have some of probably the best customer service I've ever seen it. And all the way down to, they will put a handwritten note in there, thanks so much. And their tissue and the sticker, and like they tie on little dried flowers. I mean, it's like there's just a level, and it's like, you honestly open that up and you feel so good. I mean, it's just an extension of your customer service, but it's your branding, and people remember that customer service, I think, are what go hand in hand.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a reason why Chewy is like known for being like one of the best in terms of like personalization and service. And it's because they actually take that time to get to know your pet. Like, that's one of the companies that always comes to mind when we think of that too, is like, they send you a birthday card, like wishing your pet a happy birthday. If your pet passes away, they also send you flowers. Like, I've seen these amazing, like, people will post these stuff where they're like, wow, like, I just buy my dog food from you, and like, that's all I do. But they truly make you feel like they care about your pet, and that experience alone is why people will buy their dog food from Chewy rather than buying it from Amazon. And so I think that experience, like thinking about what makes you different and unique. And if you don't know, ask. Like, we'd say that all the time. Ask your audience, do an Instagram poll or a question sticker and say, what makes me different to you than anyone else, and see what people say. And that's where you can really zone in.
I love that. I always ask people, because you guys are obviously busy. Are you both moms?
I am.
I am not.
Okay. How do you balance, because you obviously are very busy. You have this business that all entrepreneurs are crazy busy. How do you find balance and inspiration, just for not only your life, but for your clients?
Yeah, I would say we try not to do the 9 to 5 for both of us. We work when it works for our schedules. So I decided, and one of the reasons when I quit my job was because I wanted to have more days with my kids than not. And that was one of my big goals. So Tuesday and Friday, I don't work. I will occasionally break this, and I need to like keep that boundary in place and really stick with it. But I have my kids on Tuesday and Friday, and then I work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's kind of what works for my schedule. And then it's all changing come September. So my life will be different, but which is kind of the benefit. Like, it's just figuring out our boundaries, which we're still figuring all of that out, as everyone is all the time, but kind of setting those boundaries of what works for our schedule and then sticking to it. And I think we know a lot of people who do this really well. And sometimes people send out of offices. Our coach is a really good example. She sends an out of office out anytime she gets an email, not an out of office, sorry, just like an automatic reply. And she says, like, here are the days I'm in the office. The other days I am not here. You will receive an email back from me on these days. I will get back to you within like however long.
Boundaries.
And sets the expectations. And people appreciate that. Like, everyone knows that there's this mix of work and life. And regardless of where you are, like, everyone understands the importance of that. And if your audience, or if the person on the receiving end doesn't understand that, you probably weren't meant to work together anyways. So I think setting those expectations and then sticking to it can help you really like live the life you want to live while also working with your clients in a good way and also just having that like mutually beneficial relationship.
Why September?
Kids are going to a new in-home daycare. So
Okay.
I'm going from 3 full days. They're going to a new preschool and they'll be going from 3 full days to 3 half days. And I will have 1 full day where they're going to go to their Gigi and Poppy's house. So
Okay.
it'll be a very different schedule, but my parents live close to Courtney, so we might work together every Monday. So you'll be happy to see me.
Mhm.
And Court, how do you plan?
Yeah, I guess I just kind of go off of Abby's schedule too, just because I like to work on the days that she works. So when she's not working, I typically kind of just take that time off too. But I feel like with the creative, I'm sure any creative out there is probably going to resonate with this, but some days I just have my off days. I just can't be creative or anything that I do create visually or aesthetically or whatever. I'm not feeling great about it. I'll just shut my computer and call it a day. So then, the next day I'll try again. And if I'm having a great day, then sometimes I just work like 10, 12 hours that day. So I'm really just kind of free flowing with it. Like when I feel creative or when I feel inspired, I'll jump in it. And, whether that's a weekend too, sometimes I work weekends, sometimes I work nights. So it all kind of just, kind of just comes to me when I feel it. And again, I try to work the hours that Abby works too, but if I'm having an off day that day, I'll just let her know, like, I can't do this today. It's not clicking. So I need to try again tomorrow.
Yeah, there's also I was just going to say there's a reason why, like, I think whenever you work with a good brand designer too, there's a reason why those timelines are long. And I think we get the question all the time of like, can I just get my branding? Like, can I get it rushed? And it's like, no, because the second you limit that creative freedom, you're forcing your brand to work in a small space, which is stressful for everyone and it doesn't create a good product.
Yeah.
So I think those timelines are like with creative projects are so, so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people realize I mean, that's why I always ask the inspiration question. So, because for me, when I work on projects, like I have a store I'm working on right now, and I'm basically designing their store fixtures and the layout from scratch. And it's like trying to look and meld together different fixtures that work together, not just slapping it together from like a display fixture catalog. Like I want it to feel like their brand and be, versatile and to be able to where the product shows up on it. And also, so it gives them a branding by fixtures. And it's not like I was supposed to do some of it when I threw my back out and I'm like, God, there's no way I'm going to find creativity while I'm laying on my back in pain. It's like, I'm sorry, but it's going to have to be a couple days. Like, I know that's not the answer people want, but it's like, that is the least place of creativity you're going to find is when you're in pain. So how do you find, like, if you are burned out or if you're not feeling creative, where do you go to look for creativity?
Well, actually one of the things that I do is I just go on a walk. I throw in my headphones, I go for a walk. And we live in Minnesota, so we live in a very cold state. So if this happens in the middle of winter, I still just go outside and go for a walk. I'll put my snow pants on, my sweat, like my jacket, my boots, and I'll go for a walk because I think sometimes trying to find inspiration when you are having those off days doesn't help. It only makes it worse because you're like, okay, I'm having an off day. Let me jump to Pinterest and see if I can, find some inspiration here. And then I've found that like, I'll find some inspiration, but then I'll find more and then I'll find more and then I'll find more. And then eventually I have so much that I don't even know what to do with it. So I think a lot of it is really just stepping away and taking a moment, going for a walk, getting some fresh air, listening to a podcast, reading a book. I think the power of stepping away from your computer when you're having, a creative crash is so important because I think you just need to like get out of your mind at that moment and be like, okay, I'm just not having a good day right now. I need to take a break and then I'll come back with fresh eyes. And when I come back with fresh eyes, then I will feel better about this and can hopefully move forward. I also think asking for help. So Abby doesn't do anything creative, but if I'm having an off day, I'll send her what I have and I'll be like, can you tell me if this is crap? Or like, can you like tell me like what direction you would want to see, or like, how do you interpret this? So I think even asking people, creative or not, just like, can you help? Like I'm having an off day creatively. Can you just help me? Can you help me
Second
figure
set of
this out?
eyes.
Right. Second thought, whatever, a couple eyes. And then I think, yeah, I mean, Pinterest is great. Instagram is great. Those are all really great. But I think those are like the last thing that you do as far as like inspiration goes, because I think the biggest thing is really just stepping away and asking other people, like, what do you think of what I have so far? How would you change this? I just need a second set of eyes on this.
I love that. That's great advice. I mean, definitely for the stepping away part, because I know like there with what I do, it's hard because I'm standing in someone's store and it's like you're trying to put something together and try to make something work. Because it's like a puzzle. What I do, it's like merchandising stores and dealing with products that I may or may not have ordered, and inventory levels. We may have too much and we may not have enough, and it's like there's moments where I'm like, I just stand there staring at something. I'm like, this is so not good. And it's at the end of I have to be done at the end of the day. So PS, it's like I never thought about like just going and walking around the corner. Like that's a great, Carrie Fitzgerald, who we interviewed, who you guys know she says she always gets the biggest downloads when she just gets out and goes and walks. And I think that's great advice, because I often get can't see the trees through the forest. Like, that, and I didn't even think about like walking around the corner from somewhere. So thank you for that.
Yes, of course.
Where can people find you? We'll put all the show notes, but for right now, if people are watching on YouTube or if they are listening, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Duocollective.com is where all of our stuff lives. So that's our website. That's our home, all the goods. We also duo.collective on Instagram. We also live on Instagram. We have a podcast called Duo on Air where we share all things organic
I
marketing.
didn't even talk about that. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be
you're
sorry.
fine.
I didn't even realize that, because I'm sitting here, you mentioned podcast, and I'm sitting here looking at your bio and there's nothing about the podcast on it. So talk to me before we end this, talk to me a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, podcast is all we say bite-sized marketing. I don't think any episode is more than 30 minutes. We try to keep it relatively short so that you can get on with your day. But all things organic marketing, a lot of us, we started bringing in some more guests recently. So we can really dip into some other areas that we don't cover in organic marketing too. But otherwise, yeah, that's
every Monday.
Every Monday.
Episode drops. Yep.
Great. So we'll have a link for that, links to all of your social. We'll have links for your website. I'm so sorry. I wish I knew that. I would have talked more
you're
about
fine.
that.
Oh no, that's totally fine.
But I think that's great though, because like I said, I think that there's so much that everyone just now heard and is trying to digest. And it's like, it's a lot of information, especially a lot of it's like relatively unknown to a lot of us novices. But that, I think, listening to you, like, because I know I get a lot of information from your Instagram. You guys are great about giving so much information, but I can only imagine on the podcast how much people will take away from that.
Yeah, we love it. I think it was one of those things we were scared to incorporate because we thought it would be too much work, and it is the easiest piece of content we've ever incorporated into our business.
We love it.
I love this platform so much. I mean, it's like I got to talk to people all day long, so it's great. And it's when it's solo, even I kind of like it because it just, you just get stuff out of your head and onto the air.
For sure.
You guys are also going to include the packet that you gave us at UPP. Tell us a little bit about what people can to download and utilize for their businesses.
Definitely. Yeah. We'll send you over a link. So you can jump on our email list and get access to this document. It's 7 secrets to getting visible on Google or any search engine for that matter. Everyone just likes to talk about Google because they're the biggest, but we go through everything, a lot of what we talked about today, different ways to get visible. It has a product perspective to it because it was from the Ultimate Product Party. So we made sure that it was specifically designed to help product business owners. So that is in there. And even if you aren't a product business owner listening to this, it's still more than relevant to service-based businesses too. So we'll make sure that that's included, and it's super actionable. It's a really big document that can it's one of those things where if you fall into the bucket of liking to DIY this stuff for yourself, you can do it with this document.
I love that. Yeah, I wasn't able to fall into that bucket.
And that's what we're here for.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear this because like I said, there is so much value in what you guys bring. And for people that are going to hire you, I feel like there's a whole lot of people that need you that can't do it themselves. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. It's been
Thank
fun.
you.